The stars of Kepler, 62 shimmered like cold fire, a billion diamonds scattered across the void. Through that silence, a single human vessel drifted, a gleaming titan of steel and dreams. The UNS Odyssey, Earth's first interstellar flagship. She was more than a ship. She was humanity's hope, forged by a planet that had spent millennia at war with itself and had finally learned to build, not to destroy. Every nation had contributed something: engines from Japan, hull plating from the EU, AI navigation from Silicon Valley, reactor cores from India. Humanity's greatest minds had come together for this. Its first step into the stars as one species. Captain Amina Reyes stood on the bridge, her uniform crisp, her gaze unwavering as the starlight washed over her face. She had seen battle before, back when humans still killed humans, but now she commanded peace. "Long-range scanners picking up an energy beacon," said Lieutenant Chun, his voice breaking the steady hum of the Odyssey's engines. "Coordinates, Kepler, 62F. Artificial origin confirmed." The bridge went silent. Then the room filled with murmurs. They'd found it. Proof they weren't alone. "Patch it through," Reyes said softly. A stream of alien frequencies echoed to the speakers, strange and melodic, like the voice of an electric storm. The signal pulsed, repeating in rhythmic intervals, intelligent, deliberate. "Begin universal translation protocols," ordered Reyes. Across the command deck, anticipation rippled like a living force. Cameras rolled, recorders hummed. The ship's AI whispered predictions in binary. Every crew member felt the same thing. Awe. Humanity's centuries of searching, hoping, dreaming, finally fulfilled. And so the Odyssey sent her message in return. "This is Captain Amina Reyes of the United Nations Starship Odyssey. We come in peace, seeking knowledge and friendship." The words were transmitted on every frequency known to physics. For 7 hours, there was silence. Then the void responded. A shadow fell across their sensors. Something enormous emerged from hyperspace, an angular vessel the size of a continent. It blotted out the stars, radiating energy that made the Odyssey's reactor flicker. Its hull gleamed black and silver, pulsing with alien sigils. Gasps filled the bridge. "Holy hell," whispered Chun. "That thing's a city." Communications Officer Layla Korov froze at her console. "Incoming transmission, Captain." Translating now. The alien voice that answered was deep, cold, ancient. "To the primitives of Sol 3, you trespass in Dominion space. Surrender your vessel for biological analysis. Comply, and your extinction will be merciful." The words hit like thunder. The crew stared in disbelief. Reyes's face hardened. She stepped forward, her voice steady. "This is a peaceful mission. We mean no harm. If this is your territory, we will—" But the alien ship fired first. A blinding flash ripped across space. Plasma beams struck the Odyssey's shields, lighting up the hull in bursts of white and blue. The ship shuddered violently, alarms screaming through every deck. Shields down to 60%. Chin shouted, "Evasive maneuvers. Return fire non-lethal." Reyes barked. Turrets along the Odyssey's frame came alive, firing magnetically accelerated warning shots. Harmless bolts meant to dissuade, not destroy. The Dominion ship didn't care. It unleashed another volley, one that tore through the Odyssey's left wing, sending debris spiraling into the void. "Engineering, we've lost stabilizers. Reactor output dropping. Medical bay reporting casualties." Reyes gritted her teeth. "We're not dying here. Tanaka, reroute auxiliary power to shields. Layla, broadcast distress back to Earth. All frequencies." Layla's fingers blurred across her console. "Transmitting, but they're jamming us." Then the AI's voice cut through the chaos, calm yet urgent. "Captain, enemy weapon signatures indicate plasma-based accelerators with variable yield. Probability of survival without retaliation, 0. Reyes's eyes burned with fury. She had come to shake hands with the stars, not bleed beneath them. "Target their primary mid-array," she ordered. "Fire everything we've got." The human ship roared to life. Railguns spun, launching tungsten slugs faster than sound. Torpedoes streaked through the dark, leaving trails of ionized fire. One slammed into the alien vessel's flank, detonating in a brilliant burst. For the first time in centuries, the XYLR Dominion, the self-proclaimed masters of 1,000 worlds, felt pain. Direct hit. Chun yelled. We pierced their secondary hull. Reyes almost smiled. Let them know, humans bite. But the victory was short-lived. The alien ship's response was merciless. Dozens of plasma lances struck at once, carving to the Odyssey's hull. The ship buckled under the onslaught. Entire decks vented to space. Fire raged through the engineering bay. Containment breach in Reactor 2. Tanaka shouted over comms. We can't hold her, Captain. Reyes's gaze darted to the stars, then to her trembling crew. There was no fear in her voice when she said, Abandon ship. All hands to escape pods. The bridge shook violently. Layla turned from her console, tears streaking her face. Ma'am, the transmission to Earth. Send it. Reyes's voice was quiet now, almost reverent. Send it and make them remember. The message went out across the void, slipping to the interference just long enough to reach home. This is Captain Reyes of the Odyssey. We were attacked without provocation. They drew first blood. Tell Earth. Humanity remembers. Moments later, the Odyssey's core detonated. A sun bloomed in the dark. The Dominion fleet drifted through the wreckage, scanning for survivors. They found none, at least none worth noticing. They turned away, leaving behind twisted metal and the silence of death. But deep in the debris field, a single escape pod floated among the ruins, its beacon faint but alive. Inside, Layla Korov gasped for air as emergency systems hummed weakly. The stars blurred beyond the cracked viewport. She looked at the distant blue glow of Sol, invisible but imagined, and whispered, We tried peace. They wanted war. Then we'll give them one. She passed out as the pod's engines fired autonomously, setting course for the nearest jump gate. And back on Earth, as the transmission from Captain Reyes replayed across every screen, every home, every heart, humanity fell silent. There was no fear, only fury. The nations of Earth, fractured for centuries, now looked to the stars with a single, shared vow. When the Dominion came again, they would not find explorers. They would find retribution. The broadcast of Captain Reyes' final message didn't just reach Earth. It shook it. Every nation, every colony, every orbital station received her voice, the calm, unwavering tone of a soldier who had died for peace. Her final words, they drew first blood. Humanity remembers. Echoed across the planet like a prophecy. For one full day, the world went silent. Then it roared. From the skyscrapers of New York to the floating cities above Tokyo, from the Martian mining domes to the lunar colonies, billions watched the footage of the Odyssey's destruction. The image of that bright explosion, blooming like a silent sun against the void, burned itself into human history. Old enemies stopped fighting. Politicians who had spent decades squabbling over borders suddenly found themselves standing shoulder to shoulder. Within 48 hours, the United Nations dissolved, not in failure, but in unity. In its place rose the Terran Defense Command, one banner, one voice, one purpose. President Amara Kaur, the first leader of the New World Government, addressed humanity from the ruins of the old UN headquarters, the wind howling through shattered glass. Her words became legend. They came with arrogance and fire. We will answer with courage and fury. They thought Earth was divided. They thought wrong. We will not seek revenge for one ship. We will avenge the insult to our entire species. Let the stars remember what happens when humanity unites. Factories that had been silent for decades came alive. Orbital shipyards began churning metal like volcanic forges. Scientists tore open their research archives, reviving projects once considered too dangerous, too experimental. The Ares Protocol, the forbidden blueprint for faster-than-light weaponization, was reinstated. And in the heart of the Himalayas, deep beneath the ice, Project Ares Prime was born. Its purpose, to create a fleet unlike anything the stars had ever seen. Ships built not for exploration, but for retribution. Layla Korov awoke in a medpod orbiting Mars, 3 weeks after her escape pod had been found by a deep space salvage drone. Her body was broken, her spirit barely intact. When she learned that Captain Reyes and the Odyssey were gone, she didn't cry. She just stared at the stars through the infirmary window and whispered, "You didn't die for nothing, Captain. I'll finish what you started." Her survival made her a symbol. The media called her the last voice of the Odyssey, but she refused fame. She asked for a commission in the Terran fleet, and within months, she stood in uniform again, her captain's insignia polished, her heart burning like iron. She worked beside Admiral Tarek Hassan, one of Earth's finest tacticians. Together, they transformed humanity's defense strategy. "No one out there will save us," Hassan told her during their first meeting, staring at the holographic projection of the XYLR Dominion's fleet. "So we'll save ourselves." Layla nodded. "And then we'll teach them what the word retribution means." Across Earth, recruitment posters filled the streets. Soldiers, scientists, engineers, all volunteered. Even civilians offered their homes, their labor, their lives. Humanity had fought itself for thousands of years. Now it turned that same relentless energy outward. The first prototype ships of the new Terran Navy rolled out from orbiting shipyards like silver beasts born of vengeance. They were forged with hybrid technology, Earth ingenuity fused with what little data the Odyssey had transmitted before destruction. The flagship among them was named UNS Odyssey II, a tribute and a promise. Her hull was carved with a Latin phrase engraved at Reyes' memorial: "Si vis pacem, para bellum." If you want peace, prepare for war. But even as Earth built its defenses, the XYLR Dominion watched with cold disdain. On their throne world of Veiltor, High Overlord Kedron listened to reports of human activity with amusement. "Primitive apes welding metal together," he hissed. "Let them struggle. When they are ready, we will burn their world and mount their star on our banners." The Dominion had ruled for millennia. They had crushed entire civilizations for less. To them, humanity was an amusing inconvenience, a spark to be extinguished. They didn't realize that sparks start fires. Within a year, Earth transformed from a fractured world into a fortress. Orbital cannons ringed the planet like a crown of fire. Fleets patrolled every gate. The Odyssey II led war exercises that shook the solar system, testing new plasma lances, railguns, and AI-coordinated strike formations. Every test carried the same code phrase, whispered across command decks. For Reyes, for the Odyssey, Layla spent long nights alone in her quarters aboard the Odyssey II, watching old recordings of the original mission. The laughter of her lost crew echoed softly through the speakers. Sometimes she'd pause the video just to stare at Reyes' face frozen mid-smile. "Peace," Layla whispered one night, "was our first language, but you taught me our second, justice." That same night, a priority alert came through. Dominion scout vessels detected at Mars orbit. Layla didn't hesitate. She led the fleet personally. When the alien scouts appeared, cloaked and confident, they expected fear. Instead, they found a fleet waiting, silent, precise, and burning with controlled fury. "Open a channel," Layla ordered. The Dominion commander's image flickered to life, an insectoid figure wrapped in glimmering armor. His mandibles clicked with disdain. "So the vermin live. This is your warning. Disarm or be erased." Layla leaned forward, her voice cold as space. "You already tried that once." Then she cut the feed and gave the order. "Fire." The stars erupted. Kinetic slugs tore through the darkness at hypersonic speed. Plasma flares danced across alien hulls. The battle lasted only 8 minutes. When it ended, 3 Dominion ships burned and the rest fled into hyperspace. Earth had drawn its line. The message was clear: we are not prey. After Mars, there was no turning back. The Dominion retaliated, sending larger fleets. Each time, humanity met them with evolving strategies, adaptive armor, and weapons designed to learn mid-battle. The Terran AI network, Athena Protocol, grew smarter with every encounter. In 6 months, the Dominion suffered more losses at the hands of a primitive world than they had in a century of galactic wars. Rumors spread across neighboring civilizations, tales of a new species that fought like machines but loved like poets. They called humans the unbroken. And through every victory, every loss, Layla carried Captain Reyes's insignia pinned to her chest. She didn't speak of revenge anymore. What drove her was something deeper, a vow carved into her soul. "They taught us fear," she said once during a speech to the newly commissioned Retribution fleet. "Now we'll teach them consequence." The Retribution fleet numbered 120 ships by the second year. Massive carriers, sleet destroyers, and dreadnoughts forged from the bones of asteroids. At its heart stood the Odyssey II, humanity's spearhead into the unknown. When it launched toward the Kepler system, the site of first contact, billions watched. Families held hands. Veterans saluted the skies. Children whispered the name Reyes like a prayer. The fleet's departure marked the end of humanity's innocence and the beginning of its legend. From Earth's orbit, President Kor gave the order that would echo for generations. Begin Operation Retribution. The Kepler system shimmered like a scar in the galaxy, a wound left open since the day of first contact. Now, after 2 years of relentless preparation, the Terran Retribution fleet returned to that same star. But this time, they came not in peace. They came bearing the weight of every soul lost aboard the Odyssey. The fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation. Over 100 warships, their hulls gleaming with the black sheen of adaptive armor. Each bore the crest of a unified Earth, a single burning star encircled by silver wings. At the front, the UNS Odyssey II, a juggernaut thrumming with energy. Its captain, Layla Kurov, stood on the bridge beneath the holographic projection of Kepler 62F, the world where her captain had died. The ghost of that day had haunted her every breath. But now they stood beside her, whispering vengeance. Her voice was steady as she spoke. "Transmit fleet-wide. This is Captain Kurov. 2 years ago, we came here seeking peace." They answered with fire. Today, we answer back with justice. For Reyes, for the Odyssey, for Earth. A chorus of acknowledgments flooded her comms. Across 100 decks, soldiers armed themselves, engineers locked fusion cores, and AI units aligned firing solutions. Humanity was ready. On the far edge of the system, the HFY Dominion armada waited. Thousands of ships, sleek, serrated vessels of alien design, blotted out the stars. At their center loomed the Veil Tor, the Dominion's flagship and symbol of galactic dominance. Its commander, Lord Executor Jakor, studied the incoming human fleet with disdain. "So the vermin return," he hissed. "They bring their toys and their arrogance. End this. Show the galaxy what becomes a defiance." His second-in-command hesitated. "My lord, intelligence reports their technology has advanced rapidly." "They—" Jakor's claw sliced the air, silencing him. "They are primitives. Metal apes with stolen fire. Crush them." The Dominion ships shifted formation, their plasma cannons igniting like suns. The void erupted. The first volley from the XYLR was a tidal wave of destruction. Plasma beams slashed through space, tearing to the first line of Terran frigates. 3 ships disintegrated instantly, their explosions rippling across the black. But the humans didn't retreat. Shields holding at 62%, reported Lieutenant Vega. Enemy formation, tight cluster pattern. Layla's eyes burned with determination. "Then let's break their cluster. Deploy Athena's lance, now." The AI's voice resonated through the ship, calm and precise. "Confirmed. Engaging adaptive strike algorithms." In an instant, the Odyssey II's main rail batteries fired, a storm of magnetized slugs traveling at 25 kilometers per second. Each round split mid-flight, scattering into hundreds of submunitions that pierced enemy shields like needles through silk. Several Dominion destroyers exploded, their hulls folding inward from the kinetic impact. Humanity had just shown the galaxy what happens when creativity meets rage. Then the swarm came. Thousands of XYLR drones, biomechanical horrors with bladed limbs and living armor, descended upon the fleet. They latched onto hulls, ripping through metal and flesh. Boarding alarms screamed across every Terran ship. Close quarter breach detected. Starboard hull compromised. Marines to decks 4 through 7. Layla gritted her teeth. Activate magnetic shields. Vent external corridors. The command was brutal and effective, Every outer section of the Odyssey II depressurized, sucking drones and boarders into the void. The ship's exterior lit up with bursts of white light as plasma turrets cut down what remained. Still, the cost was high. The TDS Vigilant exploded after reactor overload, taking 2 Dominion cruisers with it. Every loss was a scar, every scar another promise. Hours into the battle, both sides bled across the stars. In the chaos, the Dominion fleet regrouped around the Veil Tor, forming a near-impenetrable wall. Its superweapon, a dark matter annihilator capable of splitting moons, began to charge. Energy buildup detected. Athena warned. Estimated time to discharge, 90 seconds. Layla's hands clenched the command rail. 90 seconds to decide the fate of humanity. Bring the fleet around, she ordered. We'll form a spearhead. All ships, focus fire on that cannon. The Terran ships surged forward, unleashing everything they had. Railguns thundered. Plasma lances carved through alien armor. The void turned into a hurricane of burning debris. Yet still, the Veil Tor's weapon charged. 50 seconds, Athena intoned. Layla's pulse quickened. Prep the Odyssey's core for overload. Commander Idris Cole, her old comrade from the Mars campaign, turned sharply. You're not serious. I am, she said, meeting his eyes. Reyes went down fighting. So will we if it means ending this. Cole hesitated only a second before nodding. Understood, Captain. For Earth. He left the bridge, rallying a boarding team. The plan was desperate, insane, human. The Odyssey II accelerated, engines burning blue fire, piercing to the chaos toward the Veil Tor. Enemy cannons tore into its hull, shattering decks. But it kept going. The human fleet opened a path with their own lives, ramming Dominion cruisers out of the way. On board, Cole and his Marines stormed the Dominion flagship. They fought through metallic corridors lined with living tissue, every step drenched in blood and smoke. The aliens screamed curses in their guttural tongue, but humanity's battle cry drowned them out. For Reyes, for Earth, for the Odyssey. Cole reached the command chamber. Its walls glowed with the pulse of the dark matter weapon. Jacor stood there, towering and proud, his carapace gleaming. You dare invade my vessel? The alien roared. Cole leveled his rifle. We dare to dream. You turned that into war. This is the price. He pulled the trigger. Plasma tore through Jacor's chest, but the alien lunged forward, impaling Cole on a bladed limb. Blood spilled across the floor. Cole smiled through the pain. From Captain Reyes with love. Then he detonated his explosive charge. The Veil Tor vanished in a flash of white fire. The shock wave rippled through the system, shattering what remained of the Dominion fleet. Sensors across every Terran ship went dark for several seconds. When the light faded, silence fell. Enemy signatures gone, Vega whispered. They're gone, Captain. Layla stared at the empty space where the Veil Tor had been, her voice barely a whisper. Then it's over. But she knew better. Victories like this were never the end. They were beginnings written in blood. Open a transmission to all frequencies, she said. The comms crackled. Her voice, calm and resolute, reached across the stars, to the XYLR Dominion, to every empire watching. Humanity did not start this war, but we will finish it. You attacked explorers. You murdered diplomats. You thought us weak. Remember this day. Remember Kepler. Because when humanity is wronged, retribution follows. The transmission spread like wildfire. Civilizations across the galaxy heard it, some with awe, others with fear. On distant worlds, soldiers whispered a new phrase in reverence. Human retribution. The battle for Kepler was over. The Dominion's arrogance lay shattered among the ruins of their fleet. But for Layla Karov, the victory fell hollow. The cost had been steep, too steep. She walked the scar halls of the Odyssey II, running her hand along the shattered metal. Thousands. The Kepler system drifted in eerie silence. Where once a Dominion armada had stood, only wreckage remained, thousands of twisted hulls orbiting the dead star like a metal graveyard. The void still glowed faintly from the aftershock of the Veil Tor's annihilation. From the bridge of the UNS Odyssey II, Captain Layla Korov watched the wreckage drift past. The ship's once proud hull was scarred and smoking, its engines half dead, but it still stood defiant. Athena's voice echoed through the bridge, quiet yet resolute. Damage reports complete. Casualty count, 62% of fleet personnel. 71 ships destroyed or disabled. Layla's gaze didn't waver. And the Dominion confirmed destruction of their flagship and over 80% of their fleet. Remaining forces have retreated beyond the Kepler boundary. No pursuit signals detected. Silence followed, the kind that weighs heavier than victory. Layla closed her eyes. We did it, but at what cost? Back on Earth, the news arrived like thunder. When the Odyssey II transmitted the full battle record, the entire planet stopped. Cities went quiet as the footage played. The storm of fire, the sacrifice of Commander Cole, the final detonation that ended the Dominion flagship. Billions watched. Some wept. Others stood in silent pride. In the United Nations Orbital Assembly, President Aisha Rahman spoke before the gathered leaders of humanity. 2 years ago, we reached for peace and were met with destruction. But from that tragedy rose unity, and from unity, strength. The Battle of Kepler was not vengeance. It was a message to the galaxy. Humanity will not kneel. We will not break. We will endure. The chamber erupted in thunderous applause. Around the world, the phrase human retribution spread like wildfire on banners, broadcasts, and into the annals of history. Weeks later, the Dominion's empire trembled. Without their fleet, their worlds rebelled. Slave species they had oppressed for centuries rose up, inspired by the humans' defiance. On dozens of planets, the chant echoed through alien streets. For Earth, for freedom, humanity had not just won a battle. They had ignited a revolution. Across the galactic network, emissaries from once subjugated races reached out to Earth. They offered treaties, trade, and something far rarer, respect. On the orbital station Sol Nexus, an alien ambassador of the Cythery species, once slaves of the Dominion, bowed before Layla Korov. Captain of Earth, he said in his harmonic voice, your people shattered the unbreakable. You gave the galaxy hope. We will remember this for millennia. Layla inclined her head. We didn't fight to be remembered. We fought to make sure no one else suffered as we did. Yet peace for humanity never came easily. Rumors spread that fragments of the Dominion still existed, warlords hiding in the shadows, plotting revenge. To counter them, Earth forged something new, the Terran Vanguard, an alliance of soldiers, engineers, and diplomats united under a single banner, not to conquer, but to protect. Their oath was carved into the walls of every shipyard. We are retribution, not in anger, but in justice. Among the first recruits was a young cadet named Arya Cole, daughter of Commander Idris Cole, the man who detonated the Veil Tour. When she stood before Captain Korov for her induction, her salute was crisp, her eyes bright with a fire legacy. My father believed in what you stood for, she said softly. I want to finish what he started. Layla smiled faintly, seeing in her the spark that had carried humanity this far. Then welcome to the Vanguard, cadet. The stars are waiting. Decades passed. The galaxy changed. The Dominion fell into ruin, its survivors whispering of the Terran wrath. New alliances formed under Earth's guidance, a fragile peace, but peace nonetheless. Humanity's fleets no longer bore the name Retribution. Now they bore a single word, Guardian. Yet even in peace, the memory of Kepler endured. Every year, the Odyssey's veterans gathered on the moon, beneath the memorial dome that overlooked the stars. There, etched in obsidian glass, were the names of all who fell, from Captain Reyes to Commander Cole, from the engineers of Mars to the medics of Titan Station. Layla Korov, now Admiral, stood before the monument in silence. The years had lined her face, but her eyes still burned with the same steel resolve. A young journalist approached her, recorder in hand. Admiral, do you ever regret what happened? The war, the losses, Kepler? Layla looked at the stars, endless, cold, beautiful. Regret? She said softly. Only that it had to come to that. But the galaxy needed to understand what humanity stands for. The journalist leaned forward. "And what's that?" Layla turned to face him, her voice steady as a blade. "We stand for every species that's been crushed under tyranny, for every explorer silenced by fear, for every star that deserves to shine free. And if that means fighting again, then we'll fight." Her gaze hardened. "Because when humanity rises, the universe remembers." And somewhere in the ruins of Forgotten Dominion Outpost, a damaged hollow recorder flickered to life. It replayed the final transmission from the Odyssey 2, Layla's voice echoing across the ages. "When humanity is wronged, retribution follows." The message looped endlessly, carried on cosmic winds through the void. And those who heard it, whether alien, machine, or human, understood one truth carved in the bones of the galaxy. Humanity does not seek war, but if war comes, humanity is the storm,